I think if you're going to seek to lead a nation, you have to understand that there are going to be people, even if they don't vote for you, you still need to go and hear what they have to say, because at the end of the day, if you do win, you still have to represent their interests, whether they voted for you or not.
Your parents came over as immigrants, brought you over. You made.
Can I just correct a couple factual things
Sure.
that are kind of important? My parents didn't bring me over to the country. I was
Okay,
born in
scratch
this
that off
country,
then.
and I'm proud
No,
of that.
So a Republican walks into a black barber shop on the south side of Chicago. I know it sounds like the setup for a really bad joke, but that actually really happened. Vivek Ramaswamy went into Southside Chicago recently. It was about a few weeks ago. He held a town hall meeting there, and also went into a local barber shop and had a conversation with a few of the people who were there. For those of you who don't know who Ramaswamy is, and a lot of you still don't know who he is, he's an Ohio native, and he's a billionaire biotech entrepreneur who has been making the rounds. I'm sure even if you don't know who he is, you've probably seen his face and seen him on a few platforms. Now, politicians going into the community is not unusual. They walk the beat all the time. You see them out there with their toothy grins, and they're hugging people, and they're shaking hands, they're feigning smiles, they're kissing snotty-nosed babies. Mwah! But many politicians are unwilling to go into territory that is not their own, territory where they know that the people are just not subscribing to their party's beliefs. They don't vote for them. Anyway, he held that town hall meeting and he went into the barber shop. The audience was not large. There were folks who just came and they wanted to meet him, talk to him, challenge him, and he was very game. I don't think that he changed anybody's minds. I don't even know that he went there to change their minds, but I think he went there to sow some seeds and to at least show them that he was willing to talk to them, something that a lot of candidates are not willing to do. Before I begin this video, please know that this is not an endorsement of any candidate. I don't even vote in the United States, not because I don't want to, but I'm not American. I'm not a U.S. citizen, so I cannot vote here. Plus, I think it's just far too early to be throwing support behind any candidate. We're still like almost a year and a half away from the next election, and we have not heard people debating. So, to say I'm going to support someone is just a little too premature. But I am enjoying listening to Ramaswamy for more than one reason. There are some things that he says that I absolutely disagree with. This is not a video to go into what I don't agree with him on. I'm just going to be talking about some of the things that I've observed and things that I do like about him. I'm going to tell you what they are. I'm also going to be giving you my take on his recent appearance on The Breakfast Club. You're going to want to stay tuned for that. So, y'all ready? Let's go. Well, Ramaswamy is considered to be a long shot candidate. And for a lot of people, he ain't got a chance in hell of winning, right? But we've seen stranger things happen. For those of you who study history, for example, in 1948, Harry Truman was considered to be a long shot candidate. I don't know if a lot of you knew that, but his ratings were like under 40%. And Americans thought the Republican Thomas Dewey was going to be the next president. And despite being overlooked, he kept pushing his message, he kept going. Truman actually went on to win that election, and the rest is history. By the way, show of hands, how many of you knew who Thomas Dewey was? No? So it's not impossible for a long shot candidate to win. They could just surprise us. So let me just talk a little bit about why it's so significant that Ramaswamy went into Chicago. For the past 8 elections, Illinois' electoral college votes have gone towards a Democratic presidential candidate. So not only is Illinois a Democratic stronghold, but it's considered one of the big 3 states alongside New York and California. So I think that's incredibly important. So just so you understand the backdrop, and understand why it's so significant for him to go into Chicago. So Republicans really don't have a place there. They probably looked at Chicago, the state of Illinois, as a lost cause. Like for the past 8 cycles, we haven't won anything there. So why am I even wasting time there? But, I think if you're going to seek to lead a nation, you have to understand that there are going to be people, even if they don't vote for you, you still need to go and hear what they have to say, because at the end of the day, if you do win, you still have to represent their interests, whether they voted for you or not. So I think that's incredibly important. You're still going to be the president of the United States. It's not going to be the president of the United States excluding the state of Illinois or excluding the state of New York or California. You represent everyone. I always say it takes a lot of guts to go into an area or a platform or to do an interview with people who their values don't align with yours. Their public, their political views aren't the same. They're not on the same wavelength as you, because you can find a lot of combative people when you do that. But I love the fact that Ramaswamy was willing to go and sit with these folks and have a conversation. I wish more people had shown up. So he went there, he got a haircut and spoke with a few folks inside the local barbershop. And I'm going to play a little bit of what he had to say. This is a bit of the interaction. So take a listen.
I appreciate that. What do you feel about people who say that Governor Abbott is using the mic as political property?
So to tell you, I don't like partisan politics very much, but I'm going to speak truth. It's Chicago that was calling itself a sanctuary city, right? Your mayor boasts to the country that we're a sanctuary, that we're the ones who are going to make people come. So I don't blame, in this case, the person who's saying that I'm protecting the residents in my state. If somebody else wants to say that they're a sanctuary city, and then people actually send them, I think it's your mayor that bears accountability for that. I'm not blaming him for the sake of blaming him. I'm blaming him. I think that the citizens of this city can hold him accountable to say that, you know what, how about you look after the people who actually lived here and voted for you and pay taxes here and actually live here and whose families have lived here, rather than solving somebody else's problem somewhere else.
So I like the fact that he was very respectful. It took a lot of guts to sit there. You letting the black man shape you up and you saying some stuff you don't want to hear. You might just get a little buzz cut where you don't want a buzz cut. But I thought that was pretty cool that he sat there. And what I loved is that he was being very respectful to the folks inside the barbershop. And I also love the fact that he didn't back down from his viewpoints, whether I agree with them or not. A lot of times politicians, when they're faced with an angry mob, and this wasn't really an angry mob, right? But when they're faced with people who think differently from them and they want their votes so badly, they will do and say whatever it takes to get that vote, even if it means backing away or softening their tone on whatever their stance is. And Ramaswamy kind of doubled down, like, no, like, this is what I believe, and don't mess up my haircut, boss. I heard someone say that, oh, he's a grifter. He went into Chicago and he took cameras. I think we just overuse these words too damned much. What do you mean he's a grifter? The man's a politician. He's in the middle of a campaign. And you know how some folks go, receipts or it ain't happened. So he took his cameras down there. And quite frankly, I would think it would be better for him if people were on his side and in favor of his message. But the fact of the matter is, people who were there were not really in favor of his message, and they still wanted to hear what he had to say. So it didn't really make him look that great. They didn't walk away saying, you know what, you got my vote. So that didn't make him look great. But I love the fact that he did, because I do want to see more politicians going into these areas that they're often unwilling to go into, or they're just fearful of going into. I don't know. But grifter, I think we just overuse that word a little too much. I think we're just too casual with that word. I also applaud those Chicago residents for hearing him out, because whether you choose to vote for him or not, that's up to you. But at the end of the day, I think it augurs well when people at least hear the opposite side. I always say you don't have to move to someone's position or accept their position just by listening to what they have to say. You can listen to what they have to say. It's a mature mind where you can say, let me hear you out. Because something might be said that triggers something in you where you might say, I agree, or I didn't know that was your position. Or you can say, you know what, I heard you out. I still disagree. But thank you for sharing your message, and you can move on. But to just kind of shut people down and say, I don't want to hear what you have to say, I think it's just quite silly, to be honest. I'm from the Bahamas. We have two major political parties there. We have three. One is a third party. But the major parties, the two major parties, people sort of like go back and forth between those parties. And sometimes there are individuals who are focused on one party, and they're like, I don't want to hear what the other person has to say. And I'm like, I want to hear what each candidate has to say, because I'm not going to let any politician feel as if they just automatically have my vote. They have my support. You don't automatically have anything, and you have to behave accordingly. I have to feel like you're doing what's best for my community. You have to do what's best for me. And it bothers me when politicians just walk up on the scene like, I got your vote, right? And that happens in my country a lot. And I'm like, no, you don't. You need to sit down and talk to me. I have some questions. And there are some politicians who run away from my questions. So if you can't take my question, and I'm respectful, you can't even take my question, and you want my vote? No, you don't want my vote. You don't want my vote. You want my vote, but you don't want my vote. You don't want what comes along with that. So no. So now I want to switch the conversation really quickly over to Ramaswamy's appearance on the Breakfast Club show. And you've seen many clips that have gone viral in the past few weeks. And it's mostly because of his interaction with Tezlyn Figaro. My apologies if I'm mispronouncing her name, who is one of the hosts, and she's also a podcaster. There are lots of people who were really upset with her behavior, and rightly so, because I felt that she was very combative during the interview. and very disrespectful. There's a way to comport yourself when you invite someone as a guest on your platform. And I think people, especially like podcasters, need to understand that when you invite someone as a guest, it's like inviting someone into your home. So you show them the same level of respect and civility that you would anybody who you were inviting inside of your home. And I just thought that the way she conducted herself was most disrespectful. You can be tough, in your interviewing style. You can certainly hold people accountable and ask them pressing questions. But I just thought it was just very, very disrespectful. And a lot of people took exception to it. So one of the things I can say about Ramaswamy is not only is he really bright, very witty, he's smart, he's quick, but I also find him to be very good-natured in the face of a lot of this negativity that he's been experiencing on the talk show circuit, Don Lemon. But a lot of times you will have politicians who get really hot, underneath the collar, and they just spew the venom at whoever is hosting them. But he seems really good-natured, and I really do applaud him for that. So there were times, and I'm just looking at the video over here, if you see me looking over here, there were times during the conversation with Tezlyn that I just was like, why is she just so angry? It's almost like she took it personally. There was a part of this interview where she said, in referencing Ramaswamy's foreign parents, or they're from India, saying, when you were brought to this country, and he had to quickly stop her and say, I wasn't brought to this country, like I was born here in Cincinnati. Then she corrected herself. It's just like little silly things like that were just most embarrassing. So I want you guys to take a listen to this interview, and I'm going to react to it because I thought like some of the questions were just really childish. So let's go.
Well, I got a test. I would like to see if you're willing to pass, because I believe in, just as you believe in civic engagement, I believe in changing the ideas of what political opponents look like, what they should look like, or political candidates. Are you willing to take a test with me quickly? Because I just have a couple of questions for you.
I will, absolutely.
So
and the way this is opening up, I have a feeling I'm about to fail it, but that's good. Let's do it.
That's right, yeah. So just for clarity, I am an independent. I'm not a Democrat or a Republican. Cool. I think that's important for the premise of the argument, because I know you did a lot of debating at Harvard. I also want to make it clear these are the same questions that I asked liberal Democrat Marianne Williamson. So I want to make sure that we put that out there as well, just to kind of set the foundation.
I'm open to being humbled. Let's do this.
Okay, great. Let's go. So you mentioned, the pride of being an American and how important it is to have pride in this country. I'm also a veteran, by the way, for the United States Air Force. So when is it that you voted for the first time?
I voted in 2020.
Okay, so you're how old again?
I'm 37 years old.
So for how many years you sat around and did not get involved at all in any civic engagement? Is that my understanding?
A long time is the answer. And actually, that's what I wrote this book about. I'm not holding myself out as some sort of...
I have to stop right here, okay, really quickly, because just the way she phrased it. Listen, there's a way to ask a question that doesn't come across as combative, but that didn't even sound like a host asking a question. It sounded like I was on the street and I was like, who are you to tell me anything because you sat around? There are freaking thousands of Americans who don't engage in politics in any way, shape, or form because they're not into it. I've said, I'm not American, but I've said, I don't care for politics. Now I vote, yes, and I love voting, but I don't judge people when they say, I'm so disgusted by the system. I'm so disgusted by whatever. I don't vote. Now, people who are just being lazy, like, I didn't get around to it. I'm like, okay, come on now. But people, the right to vote means that if you don't want to vote, you don't have to vote, right? You have the right to vote, or you have the right to not vote. That is your right. And he's been open about his past. So I don't know where this gotcha question came from. Just the way she phrased it was just kind of combative. But let's keep going. Let's keep going.
Model, I'm actually offering myself as a self-reflection of my journey as a citizen to whom this country has given much, right? As an adult, when you have kids, it changes your perspectives. I'm very honest about that. Absolutely.
Okay, no problem. So let's go deeper into the self-reflection. So you've sat around for, and sir, I'm being as respectful as I possibly can. Please don't take anything
and you don't even have to be. And you don't even have to be.
Stop. This is the part what really got to me. And I'm being as respectful as I possibly can. No, ma'am, you are not being as respectful as you possibly can. There's nothing respectful about the way that you're conducting this interview. And the fact that she said, I'm being as respectful as, that's scary if this is as respectful as you can be. If you were sitting in the front of your boss, right? Or you were sitting in the front of somebody who wielded a lot of power over you, financial power, I bet you could be a little bit more respectful. I'm sure you could show us a different side to you that is not this. Ramaswamy, again, cool fella, very good natured, because I would have been shifting in that chair. Let's go.
So take it off and let's go.
So you've been sitting around in the country that my ancestors built for about 20 years. Your parents.
Stop. I'm black, and let me tell you something. Black people helped to build this country. They didn't build it single-handedly. And you can get mad at that all you want, but there are white people who built this country. There are all kinds of people who built America. Okay? That they helped to build? Yes, absolutely. That they built, and you saying that as if it's exclusive? I mean, this is just... I'm sorry to keep stopping, but this is how I was the first time I watched this video. Just like, are you serious, lady? Let's go.
About 20 years. Your parents came over as immigrants, brought you over. You made millions, according to your resume, off of this country, and you have absolutely not been involved in civics. One, not voting, and two, let me just ask, because I know you mentioned earlier you don't want to sit around at the debate and talk about accomplishments. Let's make the accomplishments pretty simple. In high school, were you ever a class president or take any leadership role? Because your opponent did, Chris Christie. He was the class president. So have you ever taken any leadership at all on anything, or just...
Can I just correct a couple factual things
Sure.
that are kind of important? My parents didn't bring me over to the country. I was born in this country, and I'm proud of that.
No, I know you were born here in Ohio.
Yeah.
Ohio.
You mentioned my parents.
I'm saying your parents were immigrants. My apologies.
And that's all right. You said your parents brought you over to this country. I thought I
my
would
apologies.
set that record straight.
I mean, they were immigrants, but let's not go down the water hole.
No, we're not going to water. I just want to correct a couple facts, and then the other thing.
And the nerve of her, I would have, one like me, if I had said that, I would have been so embarrassed and apologetic, right? Sir, I am so sorry. You're absolutely correct. You were born in this country. My apologies to you. I misspoke. But you now, because now he said, no, you're wrong. You're absolutely wrong. Everybody knows that I was born here. It's, we don't got to go down that. Actually, we do. Let's correct a few things. And this is the laughable part about all of this. And I'm not even going to play this thing in its entirety, obviously. But can you imagine? This man is extremely wealthy, right? And has done extremely well for himself as an entrepreneur, right? Imagine getting to this point as an entrepreneur in this country, the son of immigrants. Imagine getting to this point, and he's held leadership roles, right? And someone says, but what did you do when you were in elementary school? Because Chris Christie, girl, this man, you talking about when he was a child? You're asking if what he held when he was a child? Let's talk about his body of work today and what he's accomplished today. She should be embarrassed for even asking him this question. Let's disregard all of your achievements today. Let's talk about, were you involved in any civic activities when you were in primary school, elementary school? You guys say over here elementary school, high school? Like what were you doing in high school? Lady, what have I done today? Woo! Child. This young lady sidestepped this man's accomplishments today as an adult and gives it no weight. What she gives weight to is what he did not do when he was in lower school. Oh my God. It is just silly. I want to say stupid, but I'm going to be kind and say it's just silly. Oh my God. Y'all, Breakfast Club, y'all need... Ooh. Y'all might have to rethink this thing. Where my girl is, Angela. Y'all better go get Miss Yee. Go get Miss Yee back. Go beg her to come back. This is not a good look. Woo! Listen, I said before, you have a right as the host to challenge your subject, your guest. You can challenge them, but this, nah. And if I were a candidate, I'd be like, yeah, I'll come back and interview, but not with homegirl. I'm not coming back to deal with that. This is embarrassing. Anyway, I just had to put those pieces in there. There's so much more to it. And of course, please go and watch the whole video if you want the whole breakdown so you understand where these viral clips are going. And I do apologize for commenting on this so late in the game. But I had other videos that I had on deck to do. So I'm just getting around to this, but better late than never, right? I can only imagine what Ramaswamy was thinking. And I wonder what the other gentlemen inside the room were thinking. They're probably like, girl, just put your fingers on your lips. We're going to see how the rest of the candidates perform moving forward. Like I said, I do like the fact that Ramaswamy is willing to sit in the hot seat, and I'm going to watch him and many others. I'm going to watch everybody to see how they perform moving forward, because this is going to be one very interesting election cycle. And I would definitely advise individuals candidates who are hoping to represent the people to not be afraid to go on these platforms. Because as you can see, sometimes you're afraid to go on a platform and then something like this happens and you end up looking like a superstar. Right? So you might be like, oh no, I know that the Breakfast Club is tough, so I don't want to go on that platform. You walk out looking like a superstar. So don't get scared. Just go. Just go. This is funny. So here's my question for today. If you want to say how you think Ramaswamy is performing, that's up to you. But my question really is, what are some of the qualities that you're looking for in the next president of the United States? What is it that that person is going to present to you that would secure your vote? That's what I'm most interested in, because I think that's what's most important for a lot of people. Everybody has their own values, their own things that they feel like candidates are not addressing, that they would want addressed. So what is it? What are the qualities? What are the things that you're hoping that that candidate says or presents that will get you to go to the poll and vote for that individual? So you can drop that down below. You know the drill. And we'll have that discussion. I'll see you all next week. I love you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for subscribing, to those of you who have. And if you have not subscribed, please consider doing so. If you need to watch a few of my other videos to get a taste for my style, please do so. They are right there. I got almost 200 videos here on YouTube. Pick one. I love you. I'll see you next week. Bye.